This press conference has been called because of very many requests I've received by people wanting to understand the whole notion about my letter. And therefore, I'll be trying to address myself to the various issues that people have raised. So the first question is, did I order the letter dated 30th of December 2020? Yes, and indeed I did order that letter. And the second question is, did I order the letter dated 4th of January 2021? No, I did not order that letter. We all know that these days there do exist various technological platforms that people can use to maneuver and make fake and fraudulent letters. And therefore, the one of 4th of January is not actually my letter. Now, another question is whether the letter of 30th of January 2020 was intended to be a discussion in the public. I have expressed my regret for the leakage of that letter, but notwithstanding that fact, the discussion arising out of that letter appears to vindicate my strong view that there are people who are not being candid and frank on matters BBI, particularly the level of approval rating of BBI in our region of Mount Kenya. There's also the lingering question as to whether I am the one who drafted the letter of 30th of December, as to whether were there other political players behind that letter. Let me say no. There was no other political player who was involved in the drafting and making of that letter. It was my own honest and candid assessment of BBI in our region. There's a reason why I had to do it. First, as a whip, it's always important whenever there is crucial government business, you do a risk assessment and then you relate to my superiors. That way, if there's a problem that may arise thereafter, I will not be blamed because I had raised the red flag. During the revenue sharing debate, that strategy was quite important on my part because some of the problems we encountered thereafter, I had flagged them well in advance. And therefore, as a whip, I've realized the importance of doing a risk assessment whenever we have major important government business. Of course, prior to that day, I have been hearing rumors and murmurs in our region. Of course, as a senator, I have a lot of public engagements with the people of Murang'a County. I always organize several medical camps in my county. I always organize various social intervention programs in my county, including avocado distribution programs, because Murang'a County is an agricultural county. So every time I used to go to places like Maragua in Kambiti, Mudhidi in Kegumo. The other time I was in a place called Madharaini in Kegumo, in Kahuro, in Keharo. So I would hear some lingering anti-BBI murmurs, but I decided now to be a little bit more methodical, to be a little bit more systematic by convening a meeting at my home in Murang'a town and to gather the views of the people concerning this matter called BBI. I ensured that group comprised of various stakeholders in our county, that is teachers, lawyers, farmers, whether coffee farmers, tea farmers, milk farmers, avocado farmers, Buddha sectors, the church. Church is a very important social institution in our county and also in our country. And they all expressed that issue, that they seem not to really rate BBI favorably. And of course, we came to a realization that it is something that has been boiling in that region, the Mount Kenya region, but people are somehow fearful to say it, to publicly bring that issue before the public, or rather to inform the government that there's a problem, a very deep-rooted problem of BBI ratings in our region that needs to be addressed. So one of the participants, who is a lawyer, we went to school together. She stood up and told me, Kang'Ata, we elected you when we were at Parklands campus as the vice chairman of Kenya Law Student Society as a first year. We also elected you to become the vice chairman of Student Organization of Nairobi University as a first year. We also, after your suspension, we elected you to become the councillor for Murang'a town. You bet very rich persons who are fighting you, and at a very tender age of 22 years. We then made you to become member of parliament for Keharu constituency. We also finally made you to become the senator for this great county of Murang'a. Did you ever give us any money? I told them no. Have you ever bribed voters for you, notwithstanding getting these positions? Unlike other people who use a lot of money, I told them no. She told me, we only do this because we know you can talk the truth. You can be able to talk the truth to your superiors. Please speak up. Express our views to your superiors. Otherwise, we do not want you to appear like you don't speak the truth. So I was then, therefore, I gathered courage, we prayed together, and then I had no other recourse than to do that letter. Of course, when you look at that letter, I endeavored to be polite, I endeavored to remain respectful of His Excellency, the President of this Republic. I respect the presidency. I will continue being loyal to the party. But notwithstanding that, I think I still have an obligation to talk the truth. And the truth is, there is a systemic problem, a political problem that needs some intervention in our county, Murang'a, and also in the larger Mount Kenya region. Of course, my survey was limited to my county of Murang'a County, but I did what is called triangulation. I talked with other members of parliament from other regions and other leaders, key stakeholders from Meru to Kiambu to Nakuru to Nairobi, and I wanted to see whether the findings that I've found in Murang'a County, do they mirror the general sentiment in Mount Kenya? And indeed, I did affirm that what I found out in our region appears to echo rather in the entire Mount Kenya region. There were 4 issues that I identified which appear to make BBI to be a little bit problematic in our region. Issue number 1, it is appearing as if BBI is a project of one faction of Jubilee. The impression I got is that the people of our county, they want the agenda of BBI to be pushed by one united political class. It should not be weaponized for politics. It appears the people of Mount Kenya, they want an agenda that is inclusive. They want a BBI that is non-politicized. They want BBI that is being pushed by one united Jubilee family. And I saw my colleague in the National Assembly, Kemunya, on Citizen TV. He started becoming personal. He even insulted me. I will not insult him back. I'm a Christian. I don't believe in insults. But I think the way he has been running the affairs of the National Assembly in a manner that is exclusionary, in a manner that is discriminatory, I think somehow it is also permeating even in the BBI process. No wonder members of the National Assembly have started collecting signatures to kick out Kemunya. I am also in the government wing in the Senate. How come No one has ever made such kind of an attempt. Currently, Kemunya is about to be kicked out. But it is because even as I serve in the Senate, I've ensured that should not foster factionalism or division in the Senate. I recall when we were constituting committees in the Senate, I used to tell my colleague Pogisho and other leaders, please do not discriminate against the so-called Kang'Ata senators. You see, originally there was an attempt that they don't even get a committee position. I told them, no, you will require these members of Senate at a certain point. And indeed, subsequent votes have proved the importance of that action that we did, of ensuring we treat every senator in a fair manner. Take the revenue sharing formula debate. Majority of them supported the government cause. So the point is, in the same manner of inclusivity, which we have been trying to lead Senate with, it is the same manner I would imagine the constitutional process in Kenya should echo. It should be a process where everyone feels he is part of. But now when we politicize it, when it becomes weaponized, I think it may bring some issues based on my survey. The other issue is the whole idea of use of provincial administration in this BBI process. We respect provincial administration. They assist the government in delivering key matters of government at the grassroots level. But on the other hand, if you have a problem with your health, you go to a doctor, not to a lawyer. If you have a court case, you don't go to an architect, you go to a lawyer. So in the same manner, on matters selling this political document called BBI, I would imagine it makes sense for government to use elected leaders as opposed to use state machinery. That is the feedback that I got from the people down there. Finally, a good idea is a good idea, notwithstanding that idea is coming from which faction. I say so because there are some very innovative ideas that have been given out. But because they come from a certain political faction, people do not want to entertain those ideas. Two ideas came from a certain political faction. Number one, we postpone this referendum up to 2022. Personally, I think that may not be tenable. And the reason is, if we do that, we may encounter some constitutional problems, which includes we need to have constituencies now so that people can vie and get elected in the year 2022. But if we wait up to 2022, then definitely we shall not enjoy the benefits of the new constituencies. Again also, remember the revenue sharing formula that was passed by the Senate. It was predicated on the understanding that we are going to increase more monies to the devolved units. So therefore, if for any reason we don't devolve more money, then the third generation revenue sharing formula will be rendered nugatory. So therefore, I agree that we need to finalize the issue of BBI now. However, there is the idea of multiple choice referendum. For me, notwithstanding the proponents of that idea, there is some merit in that idea. Why? It guarantees at the very basic minimum that BBI will pass. Because it's the whole idea of giving an array of options to Kenyans. So you give them certain options. If this option is good, they pass it. If this one is bad, they don't. So at the basic minimum, you will find some clauses will have been embedded in the Constitution, as opposed to voting yes and no, where you run the risk of the entire document getting lost. Let me say that from where I sit, we must support the government. We must ensure the good work that His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta is doing is finalized. I will continue being supportive of the government as the chief whip. But on the other hand, I strongly believe it is important that we report the truth. I saw the governors of Mount Kenya region trying to downplay this issue. I saw other members of parliament, like my friend from Nyeri, Mheshimiwa Mbogo. Now, instead of listening to my message, he started killing the messenger. He is now becoming personal, as opposed to looking at the issues which I have raised. These issues have been raised in good faith. There is no malafide. They are all intended to ensure this government succeeds. But please, it is important as leaders to be candid and frank, particularly on matters constitution, because they help this country. This process is important not only for me, but for the Kenyans, for our children, and for this government which we endeavor to serve. Thank you.
The President, my name is Hillary, the President